Okay, so I think we can start. Welcome everybody to the eTwinning Schools Conference in Nice, and also a big welcome to our online audience. My name is Nikos Muradoglu. I'm the Pedagogy and Monitoring Manager working for eTwinning and the European School Education Platform. And today I will be the moderator of the conference. Before we start, since I saw lots of you taking pictures, if you want, you can use the hashtags, so we can also use part of the pictures for communication purposes, and also for something else, a big surprise at the end of the conference. So you can use the hashtags eTwinning, EU values, EU school education. An important practical aspect, so you should have all received emails from the events teams, our colleagues, and please pay attention to the email that you use for your registration, and also check your spam. So in these kind of emails, you'll be getting different updates during the conference. So you have the conference agenda, it's number 1. Number 2, within the red scheme, you have the URL for the event's website. And then with your last name and the reference number, you can log in and you can have access to the PowerPoints also that will be uploaded on the events website, and also to the participants list. Okay? A quick reminder about the eTwinning groups. So I do guess and hope that you are all part of the eTwinning Schools group. But we also have the annual themes group, Citizenship Education, celebrating what unites us. And we also have other feature groups. Consider those as more dedicated spaces for finding resources, exchanging with peers on more concrete themes. So you can have the links from the presentations that will be uploaded as well for your convenience. And today's agenda, so we will start with 2 welcoming contributions, followed by 2 keynote speeches. And then we're gonna go on break. For the online audience, this is gonna be the end of the day. And for the on-site participants, after the break, we will have the networking activity and then the dinner. Okay? So, with no further ado, I would like to invite Amy Burnett from the European Commission. And Amy, you can just... Oh.
Sorry, just trying to figure out where I was going to stand. I can't manage the clicker, the microphone, and my notes. So, my name's Amy Burnett. I'm very happy. I haven't got the clicker, actually. I'm very happy to be here with you today. I work in the European Commission in the unit dealing with school education. We're a fairly big unit. We work on all kinds of things from school education policy through the eTwinning platform and the European School Education Platform. And we also work on the schools part of the Erasmus programme. So I just wanted to talk to you a little bit today about the kind of, about the policy kind of activities that are going on around citizenship. As you know, citizenship is one of the very key topics for the European Commission this year. In fact, we've just published a Union of Skills communication on the 5th of March, which for the first time identifies 5 basic skills rather than just the kind of traditional 3 of literacy, numeracy, and science. We've actually included digital literacy, and also citizenship's been included. Why have we included citizenship? Well, because we know that the citizenship skills of young people today are far below the level they should be. We also know that in the kind of world that we're living in right now, there's a lot of eroding trust in institutions. There's a lot of disinformation, misinformation. Children are being introduced to online sources where they can't distinguish right from wrong from a very early age. So these, we really need to work on reinforcing, the understanding of democracy and what that entails for young people. So citizenship is a key part of that, and it's also part of the EU's new preparedness union strategy. You might have seen a little bit about this in the news, because I think people got a little bit scared. Are we preparing for war? No, it's about being prepared against some of these threats that we see from the wider world. So it's about making sure that children, young people are prepared for what the future faces them. And preparedness includes citizenship as one of its key priorities. So from now on going forward, we will be making sure that citizenship education is embedded in programs for young people like Erasmus Plus and like the European Solidarity Corps. So just to say that citizenship right now, it's a topic for us this year in eTwinning, but it's a huge topic for the European Union, and it will carry on being a huge topic for us. On the European School Education Platform, which I hope you're all familiar with, we've been focusing a lot on citizenship in recent months. So we had critical thinking as our topic, our monthly topic in February, active citizenship in January, and in fact last year as well, we also looked at citizenship education and tackling disinformation in schools. I've put these links here for you because you'll get the presentation afterwards, but it's just because we have some really great resources on there, including some webinars. We record all the webinars, so they're all available for you to watch. We've also started transforming our short and long online courses into self-paced learning courses, so you can have a look on those pages and find some really relevant resources, not only for your own professional development, but also things that you can use in your classroom to teach citizenship skills to your students. So in terms of citizenship with eTwinning, obviously citizenship is a big part of eTwinning because, I mean, sort of the basis of eTwinning is about supporting inclusion, tolerance, understanding, and learning together. So these are all values that we can identify in citizenship education. eTwinning projects obviously are a collaborative effort between teachers and students to make these values into a kind of lived experience, making sure that our young people grow up to be informed, engaged citizens. So I think eTwinning has a huge part to contribute to that. And in fact, this year with the 20 years of eTwinning, we really see some of the great stories that come out of eTwinning, some of the great partnerships that there are between schools in different regions, between pupils in different regions. And I think all of that really supports these values in citizenship, these key the key idea for young people that, we might live in different countries, but we all share these common values. Obviously, we're focusing this year on celebrating what unites us as our annual theme, and that's going to be the theme of our conference in the autumn. And we have a great new book that will be coming out to support that, called Supporting Citizenship Education Through eTwinning. And that's we've really gathered some really great examples of projects that show how citizenship can be embedded into everyday practice. So I hope that you will take a look at that when it comes out. Specifically on eTwinning schools, obviously these values that I've been talking about, shared leadership, collaboration and teamwork, student agency, inclusion, innovation, these are key things that you as eTwinning schools are putting in place. I think we know that recent studies show that students who have more opportunities to engage with these kind of civic education projects have a stronger European identity and are more likely to support broader kind of objectives like sustainability. So strengthening citizenship education through initiatives like eTwinning and all the projects that you guys do is really more important than ever. I think it's really key that we engage with our students on all these topics like inclusion, equity, democratic values, human rights, like encouraging young people to become reflective thinkers, but also participating. So for me, eTwinning has really helped, and we see that in all these lovely examples that we've been gathering. It's really helped to broaden young people's horizons through all these exchanges and projects. And I think you as eTwinning schools really reflect these values and act as great role models for other schools. So thank you very much. And I just wanted to finish with this nice little slide because I was at an event recently in Riga with eTwinners from early childhood education and primary education. And we did a little word cloud of all of the things that people thought of when they thought about eTwinning. And I think when you look at some of the words here, it shows how much eTwinning contributes to citizenship education. There are words in here like democracy, community, collaborations, connecting, open-minded, possibility. I think these are really important values when we think about citizenship. And I think when you look at this, it makes you think, yeah, we're doing well in eTwinning. We're supporting all of these things. So, and I wanted to then take this opportunity to thank you, because I know a lot of you work very hard and work for a number of years in eTwinning. I want to thank you and all the people online for all the projects and events you've been involved in the last 20 years. I think we've calculated 295,000 schools who have been involved in eTwinning in 20 years and 1.2 million educators. So that's incredible. And through that, we've reached 3 million pupils. So I think that's maybe a drop in the ocean, but if we can change 3 million pupils' minds and open their eyes to the broader, the broader world, I think that's a really valuable thing. So I want to thank you all. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for your enthusiasm that you put into eTwinning. And I'm really looking forward to, hearing from our other speakers and getting to know you all over the next day or so. Thank you very much.
Very much, Amy. And now it's time for Mr. Gaël Ledreau. He's the Director of European International Affairs at Réseau Canopé, overseeing projects and initiatives on European collaboration, international partnerships within the educational sector. And for those who might not be aware, Réseau Canopé is a French public institution under the Ministry of National Education, focusing on teacher training, specifically on digital tools, on pedagogical innovation, and of course is the national support organization of eTwinning. So,
Thank you very much, Nicolas. And well, it's a very great pleasure to be here with you this afternoon and for this conference. And I'm very honored and pleased to welcome you here in Nice for this eTwinning School Conference. Well, we are all gathered in this beautiful city that perfectly reflect, I think, the values of openness, exchange, diversity that defines so well the eTwinning activities and the eTwinning program. Well, now I have to admit that as you may have noticed, the weather is not actually what we'd expect from the French Riviera. Well, it was a bit gray and moody this morning when I arrived. And as someone coming from the northwest part of France, from Brittany, it seems to me that the world has turned something like upside down. But well, I think that I've checked the weather forecast. I think it should be much better in the coming hours. And so everything should be on time to enjoy a proper Niçois sunset at the end of the day. I hope so, at least, and I'm sure it will be. But anyway, no doubt, I think that this weather allusion, it's a gentle reminder to what really makes the sunshine. And I think that it is the energy, the creativity, and the enthusiasm that you mentioned that each of you brings together, and that will make us much brighter and feel the weather warmer. We are celebrating, as you mentioned, 20 years of eTwinning. And it's a moment not only to look back at all the wonderful achievements that have been done over these past 20 years, and the incredible community that has grown up and got together. But I think it's also a very good time to look forward to what we want to do together in the future. Of course, as you mentioned, Réseau Canopé hosts the NSO, the French NSO, and we have been operating eTwinning ever since the very beginning of eTwinning 20 years ago in 2005. And so it's something that we really cherish, that is very important to us. It's part of our DNA, I would say. We've got eTwinning correspondents who are eTwinning staff, Réseau Canopé staff, I mix the two of them, all over France. And it's something very, very important. And we are very proud of this long-standing commitment to supporting European collaboration between schools. That's something really very, very important and crucial for us. Now today at Réseau Canopé, as you mentioned, I'm lucky to be the Director of European and International Affairs for this institution, and we really want to reaffirm and expand our European dimension. Of course, eTwinning is at the very heart of that. As I mentioned, we operate the program for 20 years, but now we really want to move forward to strengthen this European dimension. Citizenship, inclusion, creativity, digital innovation, these are words that I think that resonate, and you mentioned earlier. We really want to make that come to life and be more vivid in the pedagogical practices of teachers in France. So we are, of course, working with eTwinning, but also we are developing this European ambition with a broader ecosystem of actions. For instance, we design online training pathways for the professional development of teachers, focusing on the European dimension. We also we're engaging in the mobility programs, allowing European from across Europe to come to our Canopé workshops in order to take part to in-person session together with our trainers in France and through the KA1 programs. Of course, all these initiatives are grounded in the 8 key priorities that at Réseau Canopé we have installed. And I think that these 8 priorities resonate pretty well with the eTwinning and Erasmus Plus community. I'm going rapidly to list them. Inclusive education, sustainable development as a pillar for citizenship, educational and digital tools for media literacy, active and student-centered pedagogies, the values of the French Republic, including secularism, gender equality, and freedom, the well-being at school and a positive school climate, co-education and strong ties with families and communities, and of course a very strong focus on media literacy, which is more than ever essential for forming responsible and informed citizens. Of course, these priorities, I think, really aligned with the strategic goals of the Erasmus Plus program. Inclusion, sustainability, digital transformation, active citizenship, and democratic engagement. But we believe that what really makes European cooperation truly powerful, it's not only this alignment, it's also the diversity and of our perspectives. Through eTwinning, through Erasmus+, we do not just exchange best practices. We compare, we contrast, and we challenge ourselves. I think that we believe that it is the most important of it, the most important part of it. In doing so, we discover new ways of seeing. We change glasses, new ways of teaching, and new ways of living together. And I think that, well, no need to explain how much it is important when we see what's going on at the time being. However, eTwinning, we believe that eTwinning is not only, doesn't stop at this awareness. It goes much further by empowering students to take an active role. In many projects, students are not just participants, they are decision makers. And I think that with eTwinning schools, it's even more vivid. They debate, they vote, they co-create, they choose the direction of their work. They practice democratic values in action, learning how to express ideas, listen to others, and find common grounds. They gain knowledge about the geography, the institutions, the functioning of the European Union, and this brings European identity much closer and much more vivid in their everyday life. That is also something that we need to take into account. How does this European identity resonate in everyday for our students? So, actually, thanks to eTwinning, it's not only teaching citizenship, we really strongly believe that it's living this citizenship. A few weeks ago, I had the great pleasure to take part to the eTwinning National Prize ceremony in Paris. And then I realized that some project really can push forward the boundaries of imagination and inclusion very far. I'm going to give two examples, but the two examples I'm going to mention show how far eTwinning can become a platform to design the future our students want to live in. So first example, the name of the project was Let's Create a Paralympic Village. In this project, the students imagined and designed an inclusive, sustainable village inspired by the values of the Paralympics. They worked on accessibility, equality, environmental responsibility, and community. So that was just great. The second example was very touching and very moving. Sorry, I'm going to speak Spanish. The title was Puente Intergeneracional, Compartir Conocimientos y Vidas. Lo siento mucho por el español. In this project, students stepped outside the classroom and they went outside to meet elderly residents in a retirement home. They talked about memories, childhood, and the changes they've seen throughout their lives. And I think that thanks to this story, we traveled through ages, through countries, and also it allowed to tell stories that maybe would have never been told otherwise, and to share these stories between classes. So, of course, these projects are reminders that citizenship is not only about institutions, it's also about relationships, respect, and engagement in society. Of course, we also see more and more projects exploring media awareness, digital citizenship, and online ethics, helping students become not only good citizens, but also responsible digital citizens. That is something that we really work a lot on at Réseau Canopé, and of course, eTwinning is a great platform to work on that too. So beyond individual projects, and it's the reason why we are all gathered here today, some schools have made eTwinning part of their whole school vision. These are eTwinning schools that, of course, you know very well. To be an eTwinning school, it means going beyond individual classroom projects. It means embedding collaboration, digital literacy, inclusion, citizenship across the entire school community. And so that is going further and beyond what we do in plain projects, which are already very great. We think that this is how a sustainable culture of citizenship and cooperation is built, not only from the bottom up, but also through leadership, commitment, and sharing. And thank you a lot for being this leading of examples. Well, I'm going to finish very briefly, just a few words, just to mention that very often when I'm being asked what is eTwinning, the first beginning of my answer is eTwinning is a platform, but actually it's much more than a platform. It's a living community, of course. You are not a platform. We do not only connect on a platform to make projects. We are a community, you are a community, and this community allows students to learn, connect, and grow into active and engaged citizens. That's, I think, the most and the greater part of it. It's much more than teaching. It's transforming schools and shaping the future, of course, of these European citizens. So thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the conference, and maybe we should let the sun shine in for the rest of the week. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And I think, personally speaking, I really like the compare, contrast, and challenge that you mentioned, because it's part of the initiation process, at least, of the transformative, let's say, path of learning, for which Mr. Sala will be talking about on how we can combine and get inspiration from different curricula on civic education to inform our curricular design and, of course, our teaching practices, because, as also Mr. Ledre mentioned, the idea is not just to teach citizenship, but mainly experience it and live it in your daily practices. So, with no further ado, Mr. Marcin Sala.
Hello, I have arrived from Warsaw today, and I can tell you the weather in Nice is much, much better than rainy Warsaw. So for me, it is absolutely glorious weather, and I'm surprised that you're here rather than on the Riviera. But I'm delighted to see everyone here, and thank you for inviting me. Just let me briefly introduce myself so you get the context where I'm coming from. I think of myself mostly as a teacher, although I do not teach as much as I used to and as much as I would like to, because I'm also a headmaster and a founder of a high school in Warsaw. A lot of what I'll be sharing with you comes from our practice, but also is informed by some work that I have done as a fellow of the Salzburg Global Seminar in a program we have done thinking about citizenship and how we implement it. So what I hope is to take you for a brief journey and give you some building blocks how we can think about a common language, a common framework in exchanging practices of what we do. And I think it is extremely important, because if we were talking about maths or literature, not citizenship, we would quite quickly get to shared understanding what we are teaching. We would know that, this is the scope of curriculum, we would know how to get there, and would have shared understanding. I do not think this is the case with citizenship, and that's why I am delighted that we'll be able to have this conversation today and hopefully tomorrow. And I am delighted because in the diversity that we are representing here in this room and online, and in the whole eTwinning platform and community, there is a huge resource for us to really tap into. And I think it is important because if we don't agree, if we don't have a sense what we are trying to do, we can do a lot of work and not get there. The most certain way of not getting where we're supposed to be is not knowing where we want to be. If we do not define what citizenship or democratic education is, what do we mean by that? Then we can have a lot of activities. They can be brilliant, but it might not be the best use of time. Now, we don't have to all agree that it is the same, and even though amazing work that Amy spoke of having the shared leadership, collaborative training, agency of students, inclusive innovation, it is still big words. These are still huge ideas that need to be fleshed out. And in my practice, I found that thinking about what I want to do, planning, is of huge value. Very rarely, actually, we achieve the plan, but the value is in planning, not in the plan itself. The value is in discussion, what we want to try to do, and to have fixed ideas, concrete ideas, verifiable ideas that can take us actually from, oh, let's do something, to this is what we want to do, and this is why it is going to work or it is not going to work. So what I want to do is to share with you 3 different frameworks and some examples how those conversations could look like. But before we do that, I would like to invite you to a brief thought experiment. Imagine that as you go to sleep tonight, hopefully after a wonderful dinner and brilliant conversations and the beautiful sunset that has been promised, aliens come to your room and take you away. And they plant you in some classroom. You don't know where. Magically, you can understand the language, but you are not able to discern in which country you have found yourself in. And you are there, invisible to the teacher, invisible to the students, and you are just observing. And my question is, would you be able to know what kind of country, what kind of political power, what kind of democracy or other system is in place in that country just by observing the classroom? Now, one scenario is you happen to be on a history lesson or civic education lesson and you listen to what is being said. But I would actually put forward to you that even on a maths lesson, literature lesson, chemistry lesson, you will get a sense what kind of community it is. What does it live by? And when I said earlier that I think myself as a teacher, and I think we identify here mostly as teachers, apart from being in the eTwinning program, I would like to suggest to you that we're also architects. That being a teacher nowadays is being someone who is an architect of an experience, who is an architect of a community, who is an architect of possibilities. And not only what we say, not only the content of what we teach about, but the very fabric, how we operate, is a powerful experience that is formative and is teaching itself to the students. I would argue that actually it is a more powerful lesson than the syllabus or the test that the students go through. And I will echo what we just heard now, with an amazing cornerstone of democracy and citizenship, eTwinning is. In all of those experiences, and as much as I love maths, I've studied physics myself, as much as I love sciences and literature, I think those experiences will stay longer with the students than the knowledge of Shakespeare, of ratios, trigonometry, and periodic table. It is the experience of how power is structured that is at the cornerstone of what we, as teachers, as architects of education experience, are entrusted with. So how can we think about it? Well, The first framework. And again, if you find it interesting, you might want to take some of those frameworks and use them today and tomorrow, and maybe in other programs, tries to compare and contrast between different schools, different countries, different ideas, different age groups. So when we talk about democracy and teaching democracy, we could, and very often we go to the question about content, about teaching about democracy. So there will be a history lesson. We'll go back to Athens and we'll have the beautiful image of Agora where everyone gathers together, discusses every vote, weighs itself, and we have people taking responsibility. And we have idiots, those who are not clever enough, not brave enough to take responsibility for the polis, for the city. Then we can think about teaching about our great institutions, about parliaments, about elections, how the mechanics of that work, who can do what, about checks and balances, about the law itself, but also about traditions and the way we do it. Or we can teach about local government, the way the city is run, or the way the school could be run and could be engaged. We can produce a lot of knowledge, and again, in various countries, the amount of content and what we teach and where we put emphasis is different, but it is present, sometimes in a separate subject, sometimes within a history curriculum, but it is there and it is seen as important. I don't know about your experience. My experience is that that knowledge very quickly disappears from the memory of my students. So then with that, they are not in contrast, but we expand our thinking, and this is again what Amy spoke so importantly when she said we do live in different times. We do live in times that we need to prepare for. Just thinking that it will be as it was yesterday is not going to work. So we start to think actually it is not only about knowing the history, it's not only about knowing how it works, but it is teaching for democracy. It is coming up with a set of skills and mindset and attitudes that will allow our students to be good citizens. But here we're coming really to a really huge level of complexity. Because first we have to agree what does it mean to be a good student, good citizens, and then think what skills do we need to have, have them, and then we need to think how we're going to teach them. And again, we have some work done here already. Already earlier today we have heard we need to think how we can build trust in the institutions. And why do we not have trust nowadays? How do we deal with information? How do we instill critical thinking which can counter disinformation and misinformation? Again, how can we instill shared leadership, agency, collaboration? How we can convince people for the value for inclusivity and innovation? So we have this catalog, and again, it's very easy to have it running for 10 pages. But if we can choose one or two only for this year, for this project, what would it be, and how are we going to achieve it, and how will we know that we got better? So we can have an aspect of knowing about democracy, knowing about citizenship. We have an aspect of having skills that will support being a good citizen. And there's also a third element that often comes part of that. And I find this a really interesting and sometimes controversial discussion, because some people, when we talk about democratic education or educating for democracy, insist that it has to be done in a democratic way. That if we're talking about teaching agency, it is not enough to give definition of agency. It is not enough to give the skills, but actually we need to model it. And again, eTwinning is a perfect example of that, where the students become living curricula. They are able to experience decision-making process, as we've heard before. They are able to be those who produce information, and they have to deal with how it is received. And again, we can have a huge range of options here, from truly democratic schools, which are run by students on equal terms, with the headmasters and the governing body and the teachers, 2 elements that we can incorporate in our classroom. And again, I find this an amazingly interesting conversation to have, and I hope very much that this will be some of the conversations that we'll be having. So the framework that I want to give you is this: knowledge, skills, and the way we do it. And again, that can order our thinking about it. One source that I find interesting is work by Joel Westheimer. He is an academic, a Canadian academic, and he published this book, What Kind of Citizen? Not very big, but again, there's some research there that you could reach and explore. The second framework that I'd like to offer is that comes from Joel as well, and it actually comes from investigating number of programs in different countries, how we think about programming, writing a syllabus for democratic education. And in this framework, we again can have 3 different levels or 3 different points of view. The first level is level of participation. And what do I mean by that? So let me come up with hopefully a simple example. Imagine that one of the things we see around us is a problem of homelessness and people not having enough of food. So when we're thinking about level of participating, we will understand that a good citizen is one who will actually try to do something and will take part in actions to help that. So if there will be a collection of food for a food bank, or there will be an outreach event, they will come, they will bring some food, they will get the parents to give some money, and they will participate in those activities. And interestingly, when we look across different countries, regardless of political agenda, regardless whether it is to the left or to the right, whether it is conservative or more liberal, most countries, most political points of view agree that a good citizen is the one who will participate in various things that are organized. And it is quite safe. We all want our students to participate in those wonderful events that we come up with. Myself as a headmaster, I have so many ideas, and I'm always frustrated that they do not participate and they have ideas of their own. I know much better, and the good students are the ones who participate in my programs. So we know that participating is an important part of being citizenship. But I think a lot of very interesting programs do not stop there. And again, like the previous framework, it is not one of the 3. They hopefully play together, they build, and they play off each other. So the second level, the second way of looking or trying to get people is organizing. So again, staying with our example of people who do not have enough to eat, not only they will participate in the action that is going organized by someone else, but actually they will get together and they'll come up and say, I think we should do that. They will be those who will come up with the idea. They will be the ones who will identify what is important to them. They will organize themselves, will have the agency, will have the leadership, and will actually do something. Not a surprise that actually, if you are running something, being a classroom, a school, a country, some of those ideas are annoying. They are across what you want to do. They take the resources. But again, I would argue, and I'm willing to spend as much time with anyone who disagree over hopefully a good bottle of wine, that giving people agency and giving them the choice what they think is important is a cornerstone of a successful democracy. Because then we are safer, and that we will not lose trust, and we are safer that people will know how to look for good information and how to discern. So yes, we want people to participate because not everyone all the time can organize things, but we want to get as many of them to have the experience of organizing something. It can be small, can be big. And again, looking around this room, I am quite certain that the evening would not be long enough to hear all the examples and the stories where, whether you liked it or not, students came up with an idea and they organized something. And then there's a third point of view, a third lens. And this is the one which, interestingly, very often, when it is put into the official syllabus, causes the most friction. And it is, I call it shaping, it is about thinking. So again, staying with our example of problem with food, in this case, it is not only about participating in an event that is being organized, not only about gathering other students or the teachers or local community organizing it, but it's actually sitting down and thinking, why there is not enough food? How come in our economy we throw out huge amount of food at the same time as there are people on the street who do not have enough food? What is wrong with the way our society operates that we allow this to happen? And again, if you work with young people, you probably have the similar experience as to myself, that their way of understanding the world can be very sharp, very black and white, and very radical. And I love it. It gives me the energy, gives me hope, and it gives me endless amount of work. Because sitting down and discussing with them with the most outrageous ideas gives them the sense that their voice is being heard, but also helps them to understand that it is not always black and white, that it is important to have those values which we cannot back down, at the same time knowing that it's very hard to always live by them. And it is difficult because depending on the political agenda in a given country, the answers that the government or the ministry would like to hear will be either to the left or to the right, will be either liberal or conservative. But I think in true democracy, it doesn't work like this. The value in here is getting people to think for themselves, even if what they're coming up with for some time, or maybe for all the time, is not what we agree and is not our thinking. So this is the second framework that I'd like to offer to you. The differentiation between getting people to participate, to organize, but also to push forward and think, why do we need to organize? Why there are problems? And how can we solve not only the consequences of those problems, but the root causes? And those two frameworks, again, this probably will be quite obvious to you, but again, hopefully this might be helpful as a cheat sheet to go back to and to ask questions. But I just want to show you how many arenas we have to make those decisions. The first question is, of course, what do we teach? What is the content? What are we going to teach about ancient Greece? There are arguments for and against. Are we going to talk about institutions? Are we going to talk about economy and the problems? Are we going to talk about ethics? What do we put as the content that we talk about? What is the syllabus? How do we do it? Again, there's no one way of doing it. And again, hopefully we will leave this wonderful city with much bigger ideas how many possibilities are there. What are different methods, different projects we can do? How can we do it in a small kind of way in 45 minutes lesson? Or how can we have it a long year program? How can we do it in a way that is formal, that ends up with an exam and a grade at the end of the year? Or how can we weave it into an informal part of our school teaching, but it's still something that we, as architects of the experience, we plan and we design and we hope for and we measure. And where do we do it? Of course we have school, this is our arena. But surely we, as a school, are not in the desert, we are not in the middle of the ocean. We are in some very specific neighborhood. We are a local people who are rooted in the locality. There might be a kindergarten next to a high school, there could be old people's homes, there could be a football stadium, there could be a very affluent neighborhood or a very poor neighborhood. We can not only limit what we design and what we, as architects, think of to the school boundaries, but we can think about community. And we have home. Those 3 million students that Amy counted, we can multiply by 4, and that will be how many family members, or maybe more. So from 3 million students, we have 12 million people. Because whatever happens in school it will be taught about in home. We can bring the siblings, we can bring the parents in, and they can be part of that. And again, we can either just let it happen, or we can think about it and try to think, how can we actually incorporate it in our teaching as well? That's why I think talking about democratic education, citizenship education, is so much more interesting than maths, although I do like maths. So again, if someone is really bored and would like to do some calculus with me, I'm sure we can find some. And then who? Of course, teachers, we are sit here together. But again, we know that we can bring in partners. There are various NGOs, locally, nationally, internationally, that will produce resources, that will have programs. And again, eTwinning and Erasmus is a brilliant example of that. We don't have to be alone in the classroom. Teaching can be a very lonely job, I know, I've been there, but also can be one of the most connected and interactive and community-based activities I have known. It is something we need to shape and we need to design. And we don't have to be the only ones who carry the burden of thinking what we teach, how we teach, where we teach. We can invite others. And the fifth last arena within this setup is when? Of course, lessons, but again, after lessons, school trips, even completely outside of the school prescribed time, if we inspire kids to think of their own and organize something for themselves. We are architects, and those are the building blocks. And if we will take them, we'll never be bored, and we will never be unemployed, even with the amazing advances that the AI does. I hope it will take over the boring marking and boring teaching of things. But the essential thing of being a teacher, of building connections, of building experiences, of being there, modeling what it is to share power, will remain with us. So my last framework that I would like to give you is one which I love probably most deeply, and is I think, the least specific, but I believe the most powerful. It is a three-legged stool. I don't know if you've ever sat on one. It's quite stable, but take away one of those legs, and it's getting interesting and adventurous. So what are the three-legged stools that we have? Again, one, the quite obvious one, is curriculum. It is the things that we have in our papers, and hopefully that corresponds to what we do. And I hope you can see a lot of ways of unpacking that in what we've spoke about just now. The second one is the culture. This is what, for those of you who nodded, saying that you will be able to recognize what kind of political climate and what kind of power structure in a given country is just by sitting in the classroom, this is this. This is what you feel when you walked into a school and you feel in your gut that it is a happy school or not. I cannot quantify it. I would wish I could. I know that people have those long surveys and huge amount of questions and metrics. I still, when I speak to parents who ask me which school they should send this kid to, I say, well, look, do all the reading, talk to people, but also go to the school and see how you feel. See whether you feel uplifted or you feel crushed. The cultures of our schools are different. And again, in Erasmus, you can visit one another, you can get a sense of that. But they are not accidental. They are something that we can be architects of. Despite my hopes as a headmaster, I have to share that being architect is not as I want to be, but it is about who I invite to be other architects. It's who we give power to, who we invite to co-create. And what we create is that culture. Sometimes it is written down in various codes, values we have in school, but so much more it is lived out. And whatever we think that we're teaching, that is probably the most powerful element of that. And if it is aligned, what we say we teach, the curriculum, with the way we teach, with the culture, it is a powerful mix. Similarly, if they are not aligned, they cancel each other out. And the third one is community, because those things play out in community. I don't know whether you have experienced that, but in my own teaching practice, I find that a lot of my students want to check what I say is true. They want to see whether the principles that we have at school will be obeyed and will they be followed in various situations. They want to see if different promises we give them actually will hold true. And this checking happens in community. If we will talk about agency to them and how important it is and how much we want them to be leaders and how they will be leaders one day, and they come and they try to do something and we say, no, headmaster needs to decide this, or, know your place, I will say when the test is going to happen and this is when the test is going to happen, then we have a lot of explaining to do. The curriculum, the culture plays out in the community, and together they can be this powerful mix that actually will make us build trust in the institutions, will make us informed, so we'll not be misled by things which are disinformation or misinformation, and will make us good citizens. And I would like to briefly, towards the end of our time, share with you a Polish example. Poland, 2 years ago, went through election process. There was a change of government, and as every change of government is always a way to try to make the mark and to come up with yet another education reform. I think we're all getting very patient with education reforms. And here is one of those. I don't know whether they will be successful or not, but it is a new subject being introduced, civic education, which is replacing some other subjects. But what is interesting about it is the way it came about. I will, hopefully if the technology will work, I'll show you a brief video just to give you a sense. Now, the subject on the level of documents is designed, and maybe you caught it in that little film, based on 3 pillars: knowledge, skills, and agency. You see some of what I try to share with you echoed in that as well. It is innovative in terms of Polish curriculum design because of this third element of agency, where it is designed that students have to, or have opportunity to exercise agency either in the form of a project or research, something that they decide what it is and how it's going to be organized, and it is going to be part of the final grade. So in that document in itself is quite interesting. I tried to reach out to people who were working on it. As for now, there is no English version of it. There is obviously the Polish documents that you can, with the help of the amazing AI, translate, and I can point you to that. So that's one interesting scenario, that actually some of the thinking we're talking here today also is picked up on the national level and is used to introduce changes in the way we design curriculum. But I wanted to share this example for one more reason, which is the story how it came to be. And again, you might have caught some of that in this little film produced by Ashoka. Ashoka, if you have not heard of it, is an organization which gathers together social entrepreneurs, people who are thought as change makers, people who have a track record of introducing changes within society. And so happened that 2 people who are Ashoka Fellows in Poland were instrumental in bringing this about, and none of them is working for the Ministry of Education, none of them is a politician. First one is a group of people working for this NGO, which is working for a democratic education, and they were actively involved in shaping and writing the documents and now creating support materials. They based their experience and the ideas on the work of another NGO, Zwolnieni z Teorii, Excuse from the Theory, a rough translation, a NGO which was pushing to introduce project-based learning and independent student projects, and then to celebrate that. Building on that, two NGOs, so two democratic activities, translated into a way that the Polish law system, education system is changing. What an amazing example what can happen when people not only participate, they only organize, but they start to think what is wrong with the system, and they're trying to come up with the answers. I hope that what they have achieved will not only be a way that will open new possibilities for the students, but also be example and will be one of those three-legged stools where the syllabus, how it came about to be, and the community reinforces all three elements. Some of what I said, as I said at the beginning, was informed by the work that was done at the Salzburg Global Seminar, and there is a Salzburg statement on civic education, which is a short document, 2 pages, that has some of what I spoke to you about in written form. It is available in various languages. Again, you can download it, you can use it as a talking point, as a starting point, if you don't want to go through my messy presentations. Thank you for this part of the conversation, which was very one-sided, although I had some nods and disagreements across this room. But I delight in the fact that I am the beginning of, hopefully, 2 days of conversations, which will not be one-sided. And I really look forward to exchanging your ideas, agreeing or disagreeing, because I believe an essential part of democratic education is the ability to understand, to see the other, and take actions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Marcin. Do we have any questions, maybe? Yeah? Maybe for the online audience.
Thank you for this wonderful presentation. I just want to say that the reactions you got from our side were mostly nods, not disagreement. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Yes, Irene. Okay.
I have a question about the community part. I don't know if it's my impression, I used to be a teacher, but I realized that as years are passing by, although the schools are trying to involve community, starting from parents, I feel like the parents starts to be more and more indifferent. And we are talking about the education of their kids. And as I was a kindergarten teacher, this was not the case back then. I mean, back then, okay, I'm not sure. So it was not like, still, when they are very young, parents are quite close. Now what I see, like with my daughter, is that this indifference starts to going more and more. I don't know if this is something that you have seen in other countries or if this is something common, but what schools can do, what like the management team, the teachers, what can they do with that?
Thank you. I think there are 2 elements of that. One is the natural element, I think, as the kids are growing, they want to have their own space, the independence, and this is very natural development area of any teenager. But I think there's also an element of the change of culture. And it is not that we have community or not. We always have community, we just have dysfunctional community. And because the community where everyone sits with their phone and they reads their own news and is interested only in what they will get out of the political system, what they'll get out from the various promises that the politicians make, is dysfunctional community which doesn't have something shared. So actually, this is what I said, that if we make those promises to kids, it is good to do something for the community. They look wider, they look how the parents live, how the society works, where everyone is in their own silos, and they say, look, that doesn't work. I don't want to be stupid. I want to invest myself into that. So it is very difficult. The way we approach it in my school is Machiavellian, perhaps. We meet them where they're at. So my school is a high school, so it's just before university. So what do parents care and what do students care? Students care on one level to get to good university still. I think that will change in the next decade. Parents care that the kids will get a good job. So building on that, building on the sense of work experience, building on the sense of advising how to get to university, we build a network of parents who want to be involved. In our case, it's just above 50% who actually do come and they want to do something. And they do something for the other kids. So they will introduce them to their workplaces, they will help them organize shadowing or internships, etc., etc. But so it is meeting them where their need is and building on that and building then a slightly bigger picture. Can we do something for a wider community? Our plan, our hope for the next year is to get parents to organize a conference for other parents, to get people to be galvanized about something that they share, which is not something they'll just give to themselves. But it will not happen by itself because we are, I believe, in a position where that kind of community building is countercultural. And it is not something that is the norm. This is not something we expect to do. This has to be animated. This has to be built little bit by little. I believe meeting them where they're at and expanding that.
Thank you very much. And now we proceed with the second keynote. So Irene Pateraki is a senior pedagogical and community manager at European Schoolnet. And she will be talking about how eTwinning schools can shape democratic learners, showing some practical examples from projects. So Irene.
So, as actually introduced myself, I used to be a teacher, so I see things like, I really liked what Marcin said about we are the architects, it's all about experience, which I think is something that really happens when you are in kindergarten, and for some reason, while you grow up, you stop having this experience, and it's all about subjects and reading and studying and exams, and you lose the most important part of experiencing things. And, well, actually, while I was listening today what is about active citizenship and democracy, I think that these are things that already happen in eTwinning schools. We consider you are pioneers of European collaboration. So eTwinning schools are schools that they involve many teachers on European collaboration, democratic values, student agency, civic participation, and this is supposed to be part of your daily school life. And we have this eTwinning school mission, 5 statements. Already Amy talked about shared leadership, collaboration, inclusive teaching, all in line with the EU education priorities. And we want to believe that in eTwinning schools, pupils are not just learners, but engaged European citizens. And they should foster skills like critical thinking, open dialogue, and democratic participation. So let's see, more or less, this is the theory. I would like to ask you, before I proceed, to some examples coming from different schools, from different projects that I think they prove the active citizenship in eTwinning, to go here and to tell me, how do you think that you, belonging in an eTwinning school, can empower young learners to become active citizens? I will give you like 2 minutes. And very briefly, I don't want you to write something really like big. What do you think? How can you do that? I think you already got quite a few ideas from Marcin already. But I'm sure you also have your own ideas and your own activities that you implement in your school. And of course, our online audience can also participate there. I know we have more than 100 people in our online audience, which is really great. So please, you can see the Slido. So you don't need even the QR code. You can use the Slido, hashtag 2588025. Is like going through because I see people are typing, but I don't see anything coming. Back there, Nico. Can you see answers in your Slido? Okay. Okay, we have like people there, but nothing is coming. I don't know why. Nico, have we clicked on to start the... Yeah, it's they are not the answers are not coming. I don't know what's in the present, and I'm a. Oh, okay. Okay. So I see how they empower with collaboration, participation, engagement, support, encouragement, freedom, responsibilities. Okay. Provide opportunities for active participation, events, voice. Okay. So I see what is more important is the collaboration and decision-making as well, volunteering. So let's go a bit back to the presentation to see some really like examples. So here I have a very, very short part of a video that we did back in 2019 in the eTwinning School Conference we had there. And we asked teachers that they were in this conference coming from eTwinning schools to tell us how they see the future of eTwinning in their eTwinning school. So let's see what they said.
I would like pupils to have a greater role in the decision making, not simply in the implementation.
It gives them a sense of responsibility too, and it shows the best, it encourages the best out of the children. Kind of like brings the parents into the whole equation as well. It's not just like teaching and pupils, it's suddenly allowing us to be part of their circle.
So what you see here is about parents giving a role to students, and it's something that we have to start it early. And sometimes we say like, early what, like 4 or 5 years old, they're still young. Maybe they don't understand what we're expecting from them. But fostering active citizenship should start really early, and children should care about the places they live and support the local communities of which they are members. Children need to be involved actively, really actively, in situations that may affect their lives, and this can start quite early, so they develop a sense of civil understanding and become responsible citizens as they grow up. How can we do that? And here we are talking about eTwinning schools, so how can this happen in eTwinning schools? Here, I'm not going to share anything. While I'm talking, you can just use this QR code, and I would like to have some examples that maybe some of them we will share tomorrow. So I'm sure there are things happening that we don't know. And I have to say that I was trying to find, and I asked also the support of the national support organizations to find some really nice examples, because we have many nice examples in eTwinnings that sometimes we don't know. And it's really good that we have opportunities to learn what is happening in your schools. So use this code and share with us what you are doing. So we start first simple with different projects. So we have the European projects. And I know I was a teacher, and sometimes I was finding my partners, I was starting my project, I was going back to school in September, and I was saying to my students, so this year, we are going to do this project, and our partners are these. That's it. No. We have to involve pupils in decisions. We are doing projects not for us, we are doing projects for our students. So they can be asked what topics they would like to have in the project, what partner countries they would like to involve, what themes they will deal. Assign responsibilities. Marcin said at some point that it takes time and sometimes quite cumbersome because it needs extra time to assign responsibilities and let pupils manage tasks and timelines. In the eTwin space, we have the pupil administration role for a reason, that we give extra responsibilities to some pupils to be in charge of a team of other pupils to deliver specific tasks. Value different talents, and we have many examples of teachers saying that we had shy students that they didn't feel comfortable to do things, and in an eTwinning project, they actually found that they are good at certain things and they can really contribute to the project. So give space for pupils to showcase their strengths. Encourage critical thinking. It's not about using a tool, doing an activity, going to the next. Spend time and let your students collect, analyze, question, compare. They have this amazing opportunity to compare of what is happening in different countries, to understand differences, to understand things that they have in common. So don't take this opportunity from them. Connect with real-world issues, explore problems, propose solutions, and create a space for dialogue. And I would like here to share some examples. So it's a project of kindergarteners, School Nest, a place of well-being and innovation. It's a project that got a European prize this year. And you can see a little bit of what they did. So these students collect, they made and distribute, they made meals for poor people, they distributed the meals. They had to take decisions about stories and books they would read. They researched and discovered insects in their school. They went to find and learn about hives. There was lots of discussion, reflection, and we're talking about 5-year-olds. So it was a really great project of how they talked about many, many topics, and they actually took action in many cases. They involved the parents in many of the activities, so parents were part of this project, and shows how they all work together. Another project that also was awarded this year, Building a Bright Future, is lower secondary students. So there are 3 countries, Italy, Spain, and Turkey, and they used the Sustainable Development Goals. They selected a neglected place in their area. They voted among the 3 schools which one they would like to deal with. They decided to work on the Spanish one. And then the students worked together in teams, and they had to work and recreate the space and propose actually a solution of how this space can be used. That this proposal was sent to the mayor of the city in Spain. And you can see a little bit there of the planning and what they wanted to have, biodiversity, the facilities, how to, the cultural heritage sites that there was there. And they actually did something that then they asked the mayor to like, look, we did our job, what can you do with that? And we don't have only the eTwinning projects. From the eTwinning projects, we are schools, eTwinning schools, so this means that more people, more staff is involved in eTwinning. So we are talking about shared leadership, whole school approach, and it's really important to involve everyone in decision-making. And this means that you have to create a safe space where everyone has the opportunity to talk and express. where you can experiment and things may fail, but failure is not bad as long as you try things. And give pupils voice and choice and involve families. And yes, this takes quite a lot of time. And sometimes we say, okay, we really struggle, we have the curriculum, yeah, I mean, organize sessions, do things with pupils. I have here actually some examples. I came across in the eTwinning Schools group, where former students return to school as tutors and inspire the current students and enrich the projects by their participation. This is a really nice example from actually 2018. Back then we did a monitoring report, and we selected 6 schools from 6 different countries. The head teacher and the teacher worked together with us in the Central Support Service. They had to create their action plan at school. So we were providing training to them. They were going back to the school, worked with their staff. And we had planned 6 study visits. We managed to go only to Spain because then COVID came. So it was the only opportunity. It was me that I went there. And for the day I was there, they organized a World Cafe. So what they did, it's a primary school. They invited 1 pupil per class, 1 parent per class, and the staff, the teachers. And they worked together to discuss how they want to have their dream school. Of course, they wanted a pool, you know, the kids, they started like that. But then they went really serious, and they came up with some amazing ideas about designing. They wanted to change their ICT lab and the music class. And all together, talking about the budget and the parents and how we will find the money and what we want there and how we will do the activities. It was an amazing exercise. It was an amazing exercise to see 10, 11-year-old kids working equally with parents and teachers and come up with a big board of ideas, trying to discuss, okay, yes, what is feasible, what is not feasible, how we can start, what we can do. So there are things we can do. Again, one school in Turkey that was part of this monitoring exercise, as part of their action plan, they wanted to involve the students, so they created a school student council, and they had 2 students per class. The student council met with the principal, the teachers. They defined what are the goals, how often they meet, what are the topics, the actions they want to take. And then, initiated by the students, in a year they organized peer training in sports, they planned and held a music concert, they organized a science exhibition, and all this were coming directly from the pupils. It was pupils' ideas that the school supported. Students took the initiative and they organized. As part of that, they created a mediator room, so students that they have conflicts with each other find a place where they can resolve their conflicts. They involved organizations, lawyers to construct all the guidelines and how to do it, so they involved also the external community. And this is another. Here we have another example coming from Latvia, quite similar. So as part of an eTwinning project, they started organizing the student council, and they have evening debates, and they have that for the 8th and 9th grade of students, together with parents. They organize it every year now. They have a different edition. And staff, teachers, everybody discuss and solve different issues that they have at school. And they have also established, it says, a deposit collection points at school to promote sustainable thinking and some other initiatives. And I think that, yes, we work in projects, we work as a whole, with the whole school approach, but yes, it's really important to connect school with the community. And this means that we are open to invite local organizations to organize, for example, public exhibitions or events to share your school's work. And I think this dissemination part is quite prominent in eTwinning. Collaborate with local authorities on real-world challenges. I still remember many years ago, I was in a small island and we did a whole bike parade in collaboration with the mayor and 5-year-olds and closed the road, which was quite big for this small island because they really liked going everywhere with their car. And we had created as part of this project a poster with what they have to do because they didn't like recycling at all in this island, with all the rules, and we were 5-year-olds giving all these leaflets to the restaurants and all the places that they were by the beach. Highlight community voices through interviews and storytelling. Many projects also with podcasting that we have lately. Use project themes that reflect local or even European needs or cultural heritage and promote intergenerational exchange. And I have some examples here. So this is a kindergarten school in Greece. Again, it's a part of the project AI and IoT Let Us Save Birdistry, runner-up in our European prizes this year. So as part of this project that they were talking a lot about nature, pupils and parents collected toys, books, and craft material for the kindergarten schools that were affected by the floods. They worked quite a lot with the students to explain what was happening there. And at the end, from one project, they came up, I don't know, there were like 200 schools, yes, that they did all this because there were floods in Thessaly, in Greece. A project that actually this is like a sneak peek because we have Mr. Riediser somewhere around here, who is the head teacher of the Waltendorf Primary School in Graz, Austria. So I found it really amazing that there pupils participate in the town's children parliament and in the elections for the Graz children's mayor. So they have small kids taking decisions in Graz. And in 2022, one of the pupils, Felix, was elected as a children's mayor. And I'm not going to say more. Anyway, I don't have the time to say more, but tomorrow you will learn more about what's happening in this school. And here I have another example, actually. So it's a school in Germany that many years ago, as part of the project, listened to my radio breaking news that got a European prize. And with the occasion of the EU Projects Day at school, pupils had the opportunity to have a panel discussion with Angela Merkel and discuss about the benefits of eTwinning projects and European collaboration. So, and explain to her, which apparently she was really interested to learn, how they work, what are the benefits, how they are active, all the things they are doing. So I think lots of things are happening. Lots of things are happening in eTwinning. And we have proof, and I hope you will reply to my question, and we will have some more examples coming out of that. What I would say closing is that trust your pupils and involve them. Sometimes I think we don't trust them as much as it's needed. We really need to trust them. If we don't trust them, I don't think we will ever have active citizens. We need to trust them and make democratic thinking part of everyday classroom life. Connect school to the world, and I think this, you already do it. Work as a whole school. Having silos, working only with your class, it will not work. It's not part of the democratic procedure we are talking about. And create space for dialogue and critical thinking. And I want to close with a very 15 seconds coming from a project. This project, You've Got Mail. It's a really nice project where students, lower secondary, end of primary, lower secondary, worked on different topics: misinformation, sustainability, well-being, the right of voting. It was in the previous European elections. They actually came up with proposals that they sent to the European Commission. They were very proud because in the European Commission, they even replied to them. And this is part of the video. It's the closing of the video that two students wanted to say that.
Όταν μεγαλώσουμε και θα είμαστε πλέον ανεξάρτητοι, θα πρέπει να γνωρίζουμε κάποια περισσότερα πράγματα και επειδή ανήκουμε στην Ευρώπη, οπότε μας βοήθησε πάρα πολύ αυτό το πρόγραμμα.
Πολύ σημαντικό, γιατί εμείς ανήκουμε στην Ευρωπαϊκή Ένωση και αργότερα θα γίνουμε ενεργοί πολίτες αυτής και είναι πάρα πολύ σημαντικό να ξέρουμε πράγματα που θα μας χρησιμεύσουν για αυτή. Είναι πάρα πολύ σημαντικό.
So they want to be active citizens, but they cannot do it by themselves. So they need their school to do so. You are the eTwinning school, so I suppose you are doing it and you will keep doing it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Irene. Any questions, maybe? Or comments or thoughts? Or from the online audience? Nope? Okay. So, for the online audience, this is the end of the first day of the conference. Just a reminder that tomorrow the workshops for the online audience will be again two. It's workshop number 2 and workshop number 6, as far as I can see, yes. And then we will reconvene in the plenary session for the practice sharing session and the closing of the conference. So thank you to our online attendees and have a nice evening. And you can say a big bye, maybe they can hear back. A bit louder. I mean, we are 100 here almost and 100 online, so yeah, maybe we can give that a try. So now, let me bring back those. We have a break, a coffee break, and we are coming